I remember when this channel was about solving problems with hammers, or about keeping promises to post the correct content on the correct day. So this dumb game is back. Not much new content-wise in this video, but there has been a significant step forward. In case you're just joining us, I'm working on a multiplayer game in the stock of Quiplash and Patently Stupid and that sort of thing, which has necessitated the use of a central database on a website. No publishing the website yet, because I want to do a few last passes and make sure there's not some urgent massive security problem I haven't caught, but after that I'll dump some more content into the game and let some early adopters beta test it. The database I'm using uses MySQL software, which allows you to set up mostly user-friendly databases that you can interface with using external programming. I'm using a programming language called PHP to interact with the database and provide an intermediary layer between the website I've set up and the Unity game that's run locally. Players can send answers and receive information on their phones, and that's how they play the game. It's very cool. The problem with using MySQL is that if you don't set up your PHP code correctly, it's very easy for malicious actors to break everything. As you guys will probably know by now, because I made like 6 hammer-related videos, I'm completely brain dead and make stupid mistakes. For instance, the first draft of this game, which in my defense was never intended to be played by anyone other than me, was entirely vulnerable to a process called SQL injection. What's SQL injection, you don't ask, because it sounds lame? Say you have an input field, right, like a search bar, and you have some underlying code that says that once they press the submit button to select the item of this type that meets this criteria. In SQL terminology, we would say select item from the name of whatever table it is you're searching, then where criteria equals this box. Here's where it gets funky, and by funky, I mean deeply insecure, much like myself. Select item from table where criteria equals X is a valid SQL command. The critical part of that is the fact that the command is completed by the use of a semicolon. So what happens if you put in your search term, then a semicolon, then follow that up with another command? So if you search for, say, apple, semicolon, drop table, pentagon, central surfer, or something, who cares? What that would do is go, okay, let's find apple, good. Oh, that's a semicolon. This means whatever follows is the start of a new command. Oh, we've been told to destroy the entire US national security infrastructure. If you just take whatever the player inputs and send it to the database directly, you're basically asking for something bad to happen. What I'm informed is the standard protection against this sort of attack is what are called prepared statements. I'm going to link Tom Scott's video on the subject of a computer file here because it does a better job of explaining than I can, but also I'm going to explain anyway because screw it, you've watched the video this far, clearly you don't care if I vomit computer language at you. Basically, a prepared statement is what you have when you decouple the input from the code that processes it. You tell the computer as it spins up that you want it to execute this code, and this code specifically, and when it asks for input, you go, I'll tell you later. In reality, you tell the computer a few milliseconds later because that's how processors work, but that's not the important bit. Because you've told the computer the parameters of the code you want it to execute, it will then know to handle any input it receives delicately. Here's the code I want you to execute, here's the input I want you to execute it on. Now this is just a series of letters and symbols, alright? Don't look funny at anything you see here and wipe out the entire electricity grid for the eastern seaboard, right? This is just a normal sentence that I want you to test and then put away in a safe cabinet with a lock on it. I don't 100% get the logic, but so far my attempts to blitz my own database with destroy everything requests has just seen me get stared at by my computer like I'm some sort of lunatic, which makes me very happy because it means very soon I'll be able to put this project out to the wider world. That is, of course, until someone comes up with a way of cracking it and then ruins everything, but until then I'm going to ride this high. So that's the security side of things patched out for now. As far as content, well, I had a bit of a revelatory moment while I was working on it the other day. The Price is Right ripoff I'm working on just isn't fun. Like, it's neat that it works, and that I have the principle of networking gameplay down, but it's not enjoyable. I don't know, it's just, something about it just isn't doing it for me. Plus there's the fact that trying to make enough voice lines and questions all on my own to make every game unique means that I'll probably be coding until the heat death of the universe trying to make it all. So I want to shift gears a bit and work on a different minigame for now. I have the files and stuff saved, so I can always come back and revisit the idea later. Right now I'm working on a phone as controller game called Shadow Government. This is the we try and solve the world's problems over coffee idea I was telling you about the other day, if you recall. If you don't, the previous video is in the card up there? I don't know how YouTube works. Anyway, I spent the time I wasn't spending on securing the code base on working on the menu's user interface for this game, and it looks a darn sight better than before. It's still not great, UI designer is probably not one of my skill sets, but it's an improvement on the rubbish that was that cost is incorrect. I might bring that back if I find more voice actors one day, but for now I just don't really vibe with it. The game can pull players from the database too, so the principle of uploading and downloading data is already established. I'm also going to change it so that the first person to join gets a button that starts the game, again much similar to Jackbox, rather than having the start button be something that you press in the client. Mostly on account of the fact that being able to start it from in the game creates an unacceptable amount of delay between the web page response and the client response that allows the game to break, and who am I kidding, you don't care. Anyway, that's what I've got. Keep your suggestions coming for new game ideas and maybe I'll think about working on them if I can be bothered. Goodbye.